Hey, everyone. Welcome. My name is Lauren, and this is the Ever-Changing WIP YouTube channel. So exciting. I'm so happy that you're here. This is my first ever YouTube video. I kind of have no idea what I'm doing, so welcome. Thank you for joining me on this new journey. We're all learning. It's actually partly why I named this YouTube channel, and I have a blog and an Instagram by the same name, Ever-Changing WIP, because we're always changing, we're always growing, we're always learning, we're all works in progress, and I just kind of wanted the opportunity to share that with you. So welcome. This is going to be primarily a knitting, but fiber, crafty, maybe some other life stuff mixed in channel. We're going to see how it goes over time. I'm going to try to not edit this because, again, I don't really know what I'm doing. So if you hear a couple a couple likes, a swear word or two slips out, I'm so sorry in advance. But like I said, totally new game for me. So to be continued on that. Maybe editing is going to be something I have to do in the future. I guess we're going to see. But like I said, my name is Lauren. I guess I'll start off a little bit by sharing my fiber story, which is that I've been knitting for the past over 10 years at this stage. My mom and I actually learned how from a tutorial in a magazine, and it was something I really enjoyed doing from the outset, but it wasn't like a true full-on passion right away. That took a decent amount of time. Actually, it's something I sort of picked up and put down. I got really big into like making gifts for everybody for a while, and they lovingly and patiently wore all of those things when I wasn't quite great at it yet. So that was so sweet. But yeah, it wasn't really until I moved to where I am now in Providence, Rhode Island, that I found a knitting group that really turned me on to the hobby and the craft and what I could do with it, that my passion for knitting really grew. So I credit my local knitting group with sort of the monster you're about to see here. Yeah, they were some of the first friends I made. My mom actually found that group for me on Meetup when I first moved here because I really didn't know anybody. And they inspired me to learn about like very fancy yarns and different types of yarns, the importance of different yarns. They inspired me to knit my first ever sweater. My friend Amy really forcefully, lovingly, encouraging lead tried to say repeatedly, like, this is something you can do. And once I knit my first sweater along with her help immensely, which was a Lopi sweater, I sort of got the knitting bug completely. I've knit like 7 sweaters since then, among other things. So yeah, that's kind of what sparked where I am today. So shout out to my knitting friends. But yeah, over the last year, really, I've sort of missed the ability to share what I'm working on, what I would love to work on, the finished objects that I have. I've been able to do so with the blog and the Instagram I have, but I just feel like with knitting in particular, you kind of want to be able to show how things move, how they drape. There's only so much you can do with photos and that sort of thing. So that's part of the reason why I started this. I figured I have like a finished object to share, and I have a couple WIPs I'm working on, and what the things I'm kind of dreaming about doing. And yeah, if you'll indulge me, that's sort of the plan for today. I really got into watching a lot of other knitting podcasts and YouTube channels over the last year. It was such an anxious and stressful time, an isolating time for me in particular, that it was so comforting to be able to watch people who are into the same thing that I'm into, yeah, over the course of the last year, it really was just such a comfort and so welcome. I also learned about like a ton of new projects because of them, new yarns, new techniques. I just found things really, really informative. It's how I found out about a lot of local or indie dyers and bag makers and just like all the fun stuff that you can get with knitting. So yeah, that's just been a really excellent resource for me. And so I thought, well, maybe there's somebody out there who would be interested in the stuff that I'm working on. And this would be the vehicle for me to share that. So without further ado, I guess, let's kind of jump right into it. The first thing I'll share is my one and only FO. The reason why I'm actually filming this today and hoping to get it uploaded is because this is actually an FO gift for my mom for Mother's Day. So my mom is a crocheter, so she completely understands the fiber world, and it's been so nice because anytime there's sort of a crocheted item that I'm really into, she'll make that, and if there's a knitting item that she's into, I can make that for her. So it's just been a really kind of lovely relationship in that way. And so she was subscribed to Taproot magazine, which is local to the New England area and really focused on making of all kind, food, handcrafts, mending, botanical dyeing, all of those sorts of things. And so she was subscribed to this magazine and saw this pattern in it and was like, hey, if you ever want to knit me a thing, this might be a good thing for you to do. And the timing just worked out with Mother's Day coming up. So I kind of jumped on it immediately, and that's where we are. So this is the, I'm not going to say this right, I'm so sorry in advance, but the Millifolium shawl by Beatrice Dallin. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I am going to link in the down bar all of the sort of show notes from this episode, so that way you have things at your fingertips, or you can reach out to me if you have any questions. Please put comments down below. I would love, love, love to hear from you. I will also do my best when at all possible. I know Ravelry is still not accessible for a lot of people. I will provide links to where patterns and information is outside of Ravelry as well, and will indicate when there is a Ravelry link, so that way if you are someone who is unable to utilize that service at this stage, you won't unknowingly click on a link that could hurt you. So I will do my best for that as well. But yeah, here is the shawl. Da, 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 da. So it's a triangular shawl. Pretty simple construction. There's only one lace panel in the middle. It really bloomed when blocking. I'm so thrilled with how this came out. It is a 3-color shawl. If you do look on the pictures in the magazine or even on the Ravelry page, it was a botanically dyed yarn that she used. So 2 of the colors kind of look the same, so it's tough to see, but this is what it looks like in a 3-color. I think, if my mom and I had kind of worked or thought about it a little bit more, I would have advocated for it to just be this dark purple color. I just think it works so well with this pattern. But yeah, kind of live and learn. We also originally designed it for the lightest color. I think that's how she wants you to do it too. The lightest color is sort of around your neck or at the top, and you transition down to the darkest color. I kind of goofed. I don't know, the construction of it really threw me for a loop. And so I ended up starting with the darker color. I think ultimately it will be fine. And also my mom is just a lovely person who would never tell me otherwise. She'll be like, this is so beautiful. But I think if I had to do it all over again, that's sort of the thing that I would swap. Yeah, so this is yarn. Oh, I didn't bring the extra yarn out. That's okay. This is gloss fingering weight yarn. I've been kind of keeping track. Actually, this year, this is a newer thing for me, of my knitting in a notebook where I'm kind of putting the start and the end date, what pattern, who it's by, who I'm knitting it for, the needles used, all of that fun stuff. But yeah, because I just forget all of the time. But this is the gloss fingering weight from Knit Picks. You're going to see a theme. I kind of went a little crazy at the end of last year with the Knit Picks sale. So you're going to see a lot of Knit Picks in this episode, which is totally fine. But the colors are blackberry is the dark purple, the more maroon, I believe, is velveteen, and then the lighter color is sort of like a light blue, light gray, and it's called Clarity. And so this is I believe it's a wool bamboo blend. Nope. It's a wool silk blend. So sorry. So this has a lot of drape to it, and it's also very lightweight, which is actually so great for my mom because she is a person who gets pretty warm. So I think this actually is going to work out really, really well for her. At first, I was nervous about the size. I'll see if I can kind of put it on for you to see. It does kind of cover your shoulders, but it isn't super long. I don't know if you can see that. And then kind of wrapping it seemed like a bit awkward for me. What I would probably do to style it is put it over my shoulder like this so that the lace panel is kind of over a shoulder, and then get like a shawl pin or cuff to keep it in place. So more like a little capelet than less of a shawl. So at first I was really kind of concerned about the length, but again, my mom is someone who can't tolerate really heavy, warm things. I am a person who is obsessed with feeling a lot of bulk around my neck. I like a big heavy shawl right here. It just is comforting for me, but that's not my mom. So I actually think this is really gonna work out well for her, which is awesome. So yeah, in terms of actually knitting it, I loved it. I really miss actually knitting this. I hit a really sort of anxious, rough period in April for whatever reason. And this just became such a comfort to knit. As you'll see on the panels, it's mostly garter, right? And then you have the lace panel in the middle. The lace panel is very memorizable. That's a new to me thing. I was not a person who could memorize a pattern before, but I am a person who's starting to learn. And I found very quickly I actually didn't even need to refer to the pattern, which was so exciting. So exciting. I've been working remotely still. And so sometimes during conference calls or big Zoom meetings, knitting is nice to have. And this was, I found, because I didn't have to look at the pattern, that I could very easily sort of do this pretty often during some of those calls. And like I said, it just sort of ended up being a more meditative knit at the end, because you just had these large panels of garter, which I just so loved how it came out. The increases are nearly invisible on this, which is so cool. The other thing I will say, I did sort of a new to me bind off technique. I don't know if you can see, we're again learning how to do all of this. I used what's called an Icelandic bind off. I will link the tutorial I used in the down bar below, but you can see there's a little bit of edging, and then you do the bind off. And I wanted something, not that was super stretchy, but not super constrictive either, especially if you're going to wrap it over you. And I am a person who tends to bind off pretty tightly, unfortunately. So I found that this bind off was kind of a cool technique, actually very easy to learn. It blends into the garter almost seamlessly, which I love. And it does sort of provide that extra strength and stretch. So that way, when my mom goes to actually physically wear it, she won't be like, trying to pull the bottom so she can fit it comfortably. So yeah, I'd highly recommend a super simple, kind of triangular shaped, very classic shawl. I just think that I just think that it's a very nice, lightweight, smaller size that I think especially people who get on the warmer side would really love to have. So I would encourage you to kind of check that out. And also check out Taproot in general. They're cool. Their magazine's really cool. I've knit a couple of things out of it at this stage. Actually, a cowl for my mom last Mother's Day. If you're sensing a theme, you are right. That I also really loved, and there are a couple sweater patterns that I flagged for the future. So I'd highly recommend that. Cool. I think we can move on to works in progress. I only have a couple to share and they're brandy new, so I don't have a super ton to share about them, unfortunately, just yet. I kind of cleared my slate of winter knits as we were going into March and April, and then I kind of lost my knitting mojo for a second there, and so I'm starting to cast on new things, but it took a minute. And also I wanted to make sure I got that project done by Mother's Day. So, sometimes you have to be a little bit monogamous to make sure you hit your deadlines. So the next thing that I am working on is the Me Oh My tee. And now I'm realizing, do I not even have my phone here, that I don't have a picture of it, which would be so helpful. But clearly, as I mentioned, I'm a person who does not know what she's doing. And yeah, so I just said I wasn't going to edit, but maybe I'll try to insert a picture. We'll see what happens. But it's the Me Oh My tee by Park Williams. And like I mentioned, I will put everything down below so you can actually see it. It's cute. It's like a little cropped t-shirt that's made out of like a cotton-based yarn. So I figured it would be perfect for the spring and summer. So I thought, let's cast this on. It's already May. Let's kind of get stuff going. The one thing, well, I'll get to that in a second. So I'm using the Knit Picks as well. This is simply cotton. It's a sport weight. I believe the pattern is originally for DK. I used yarnsub.com to kind of see if there was a different type of yarn that would work for this project. And this was one of the good substitutes that was a little bit more affordable than what the pattern called for. So this is what I purchased. I did have to adjust the gauge a little bit, but not drastically. And also, I'm a little bit of a monster. I did gauge swatch, but I'm a little bit of a monster. I tend to rip out my gauge swatches almost immediately after determining the needle size I'm going to use. It is a toxic trait of mine. I completely agree. In case I ever needed to refer back, I don't even have that ability. I'm working on it. It's sort of a work in progress for me. So I would show you my gauge swatch if it still existed, but it doesn't anymore. Much like I would show you the pattern if I was a person who was prepared for this and brought my phone to show you. But hey, we're learning. We're trying new things. So this is what the yarn actually looks like. There we go. So it's just a white. I think it's called Marshmallow. It's just a white, super, super simple. I figured this could go over dresses, like flowy dresses. It's a little bit cropped under my overalls that I recently purchased and have been living in during this pandemic. It's just a super, super cute design. The only difference I'm making in terms of modification is the bottom of the sweater is designed to be stockinette, or just like you cast on and then you just sort of start knitting. But stockinette has a tendency to roll, and I just knew for me and my body and my comfort that I would just be constantly tugging at it, trying to put it down. If I wanted to try to tuck it into high-waisted jeans, I was afraid it would kind of pop out and wouldn't stay. So I'm actually putting in, this is how much I've done. So as you can tell, I'm just really into it. and it's all tangled. But I'm putting in about 2 inches of ribbing. I do believe I am going to add a little bit of length to it anyway, to what the pattern calls for. I've knit a few cropped sweaters at this stage, so I know the length that I want them to be in order where I want them to sit on my body. So I'm going to follow that. I'm going to probably end up adding about 2 inches of length for what the pattern calls for in my size. But so I'm just adding, I don't even know if you can fully see that, it's so difficult, ribbing of about 2 inches at the bottom, I think is what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to go into knitting, and then there's a little bit of ribbing here and at the neck. And it should just be like super simple, super easy breezy. I think it'll be a very comfortable sweater to kind of wear ultimately. So yeah, that's where I'm at here. I haven't knit a sweater in a minute. I did like a very complicated cable sweater that I finished at the end of 2020, I want to say, and then kind of needed a little bit of a break from there. So I'm excited to get back into sweater knitting in general. I have this on my Chiagu interchangeable set. This is a size 4. Ultimately, I'm going to be knitting the body on a 6. So I went down 2 sizes, which I'll do for each of the ribbing sections on the arm and the neck and the body. And I have my whole project's in this fun Matterroot bag that I got at the last Rhinebeck that we were all able to go to before this nightmare started. So we'll see how long this takes. One of the things I'm really trying to get into in general is spring and summer knitting, utilizing yarns that are like cotton or bamboo, linen as well, that wear better for spring and summer. I am a person who wants to knit throughout the year, and you know, as we get into July and August in those really humid days, the last thing I want is like a lopey sweater sitting on my lap. No, thank you. So I'm really trying to embrace, I'll talk about some upcoming knitting I have as well, but I'm really trying to embrace these plant fibers that are cooler weather. And then also, you know, I really just love knitting or wearing the things that I knit, and I can't in my climate, starting really now. I've actually started the process of packaging away all of my knitting. So the lighter fabric is something I'm hoping I'll be able to continue wearing over the next couple months. So yeah, okay, so that was my first WIP. My second WIP is also something that's very early in progress. This is in this cute little bag, which I think is by, yes, Woodsy and Wild, which I want to say she's a New England-based bag maker. I did buy this at the Boston Fiber Festival with my mom a few years ago, but it's just such a good size. Look how cute. Can you even? Isn't it fun with knitting, like all the accessories and things you get to do? Anyway, so this is actually another gift knit. So I'm starting on it now. I am a twin. I have a twin brother, and our birthday is at the end of this month, actually. And so when I was on the Knit Picks site, actually buying the yarn for my mom's shawl, I found this color in their Felici yarn. Let me see. I should have one with the ball band still on it. Yeah. There. That just screamed my brother. Like it's so perfect for him. So I'm going to knit him a pair of socks out of this. This is the Cloudy with a Chance of Rainbows colorway. This yarn's so great. I recently knit myself a pair of socks for the first time using this, and it's just soft and durable and so easy to use. So yeah, this one I have also just literally cast on like 2 days ago. This isn't even really anything yet. That's partly because I'm actually going to see him this weekend when I go see my family and spend time with them. And I have a lot of follow-up questions for him about sort of what kind of style he wants, if he wants it to be more of a vanilla style sock or to have a little ribbing in the leg so it holds up a bit more. So I'm imagining I'll probably either be doing a vanilla sock for him or some sort of men's ribbed, like maybe 6x2, like a large rib, just so it kind of adheres to his leg a little bit. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I got so into knitting socks this past year. I've knit like 1,000, and I hope to always have a pair of socks on the needles. As I mentioned, I'm still working remotely, and I sometimes have the opportunity to knit during meetings or conference calls, and I just find socks to be the perfect vehicle for that. They're great to have in your car if you're running errands and you're stuck at like the bank line or the doctor's office. I like recently had to go to the emergency room. Actually, that's a different story for a different time. But when the doctor came in, he was like, "Oh my God, you're knitting." So people really love to see you out and about doing it. But one of the reasons why I discovered my love for sock knitting is 9-inch circulars. So these are the Knitter's Pride Zings. Can see there. This is a US 1.5 or a 2.5 millimeter. Again, this will be a men's sock, and so I didn't want it to, like, I want it to fit, but I didn't want it to be super constricting. But 9-inch circulars for me are a game changer. Like, I can just just knit and knit and knit and knit, and all of a sudden a sock is done. And what I did find is, so I have 2 of these, and so what I've started to do with my socks is break them up into components. So the cuff, the leg, the gusset, the heel, and then the foot, and then the toe. And what I try to do is do 2 of them at a time based on those components. So once I'm finished this cuff, I'll cast on with this ball and this needle set and do the cuff on the second sock. And I just find that it reduces that sort of second sock syndrome. And also it's just a nice rhythm, like cuff to cuff, leg to leg, right? Like you're not having to transition through a number of different techniques. I've found that that's sort of what works for me with socks as well. So yeah, the goal is for these to be finished by our birthday at the end of the month. That would be ideal. I do think that shouldn't be a problem, especially this is the only project I'm bringing with me this weekend, which hopefully that works out and I'm not missing the other sweater. But yeah, I just expect to kind of zip through these. But oh my God, can you handle, like, how fun is that? How fun is that yarn? So I think he's really, 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 really gonna like it. The one thing I did just realize that I didn't talk about with this shawl that I really wanted to is Knit Pick sells primarily in 50-gram balls, and you know the pattern was written really for 100-gram skeins. I found that I had a lot of leftover yarn from this project, like especially on this color. I have a full 50-gram ball that I didn't even crack into. Like this color, I think I cracked into the second skein, but just for a couple of rows. So just keep that in mind if you are going to knit it. If you are someone who has 50-gram balls, or even if you have minis and you kind of want to break it up in a different way, I actually think this pattern really works for that. And in addition, the pattern is written so that like you can do the sections of the increases as many times as you want. I could have made this larger if I had wanted to. It's very easy to customize for that. So I did just want to mention, especially if you're going to get the gloss fingering, you probably won't need to, especially on the last color, get an extra skein. So just something to keep in mind. I do sort of wish people included like their final yardages and things. I know Ravelry is a really good resource for that. Again, if you're able to use it. I don't use project pages. Like I said, I'm pretty old school. I'm like back to paper and pen, and I'm keeping track of things that way. But yeah, sometimes it's kind of a bummer, you know, when you've bought all this yarn and then you have a ton left over. So I just wanted to make note of that. Cool. Okay, so those are the things I'm currently involved with. Yeah, I think let's talk, what do I want to do next? Again, I don't really have my phone, so I can't really show you, but I guess what I can do is talk about the yarn that I've just acquired. So I am really trying. One of the things that brought me a lot of comfort during the pandemic was purchasing yarn. And also I was home a lot more, so I was able to participate in shop updates more frequently. And I've bought some incredibly beautiful things, but also I may have overdone it a bit. So one of the things I'm really trying to do is be much more mindful about the yarn and things that come into my space and into my house. So with that in mind, I did actually help to organize a yarn swap with my local knitting group. It was one of the first times that we saw each other in person recently. We were outside. Most of us are vaccinated at this stage, still masked, still socially distanced. But it was really an opportunity for folks to kind of go through their stash and get rid of things they were no longer going to use, and then for other people to take those items and rehome them and to increase their stash without any money changing hands. So that was a really kind of fun and cool thing. And we are actually going to donate the leftovers. Some people really I wish I had taken video or photos of the actual swap because there was so much yarn. There was so much yarn. People really kind of took advantage of the idea of cleaning out and refreshing their stash. We're actually going to donate the remainder of the yarn to a local secondhand craft store that takes those donations and then sells them to find new homes. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah, people really took the call to heart, which I sort of loved. So I'll kind of show you what I got and what I'm thinking about doing with them, and then we can bleed into what my plans are for my future knitting. Oh my God, look, I found my phone. Okay, perfect. So now I'll be able to share pictures of the future knitting that I'm looking at doing. But yeah, let's kind of start with what I've recently acquired. So these are 3 fingering weight scraps. You can kind of see in the light. I am doing a crocheted scrappy blanket, but I thought these would make like a really cute scrappy sock together. I'm actually thinking of doing the jelly roll sock. I don't know if you've seen that. They're shorty and they have sort of like a couple of ruffles at the top. I just thought these would be like a really fun kind of springtime darling little sock. So that was the first thing I grabbed. I just am kind of a sucker for like the small. So cute. Cannot even handle. So exciting. I will say I did try very hard to refrain from picking up like a ton of stuff. So it isn't a huge amount. I do still have a very big haul of yarn in my trunk before we donate it. So who knows? This pile may grow in the future. But kind of next up, there we go. This like beautiful purple yarn. This is the Quince & Co. Chickadee. It's 100% American wool. This is about 180 yards, and it's in their Frank's Plum colorway. Now, here's the deal with Quince & Co. They're not a company I support any longer. I don't know if you've all been kind of paying attention to what's happening or what happened on Ravelry with some of their hiring practices and what they've done in particular to BIPOC designers and employees. I do not support their business practices. So I will not be purchasing their yarn in the future unless something radically changes. However, this yarn was purchased kind of previous to that, obviously, and I did see, I think it's Gather here is sort of a local to me yarn store. Talked about kind of rage knitting with the stash that you have. And so that's my plan with this, is to sort of stick it to them by rage knitting this into something beautiful. Hopefully something beautiful can come out of all of that terribleness. I'm imagining this will be some sort of shawl, to be honest. I just love the color. It's a little bit scratchy, like it's a little bit woolly, but I'm into that. So it's not something I'm super worried about, but yeah, I just think the color is so, so pretty. So picked up 4 skeins of these at the swap, which is awesome. So it's so funny. You all don't really know me yet, but one of my knitting friends sort of named me the Queen of Neutrals, and that is completely my vibe. You'll see all of the sort of sweaters I hope to knit or have knit, they're in like grays, tans, like very, very neutral. But I really loved this skein of yarn. It just kind of, it looks like sherbet, and maybe I think it's also kind of the weather. You know when it's just like starting to be nice? You get kind of into it. That's sort of where I'm at. Yeah, I'm imagining this will be some sort of sock. It is 100% superwash merino, so there isn't any nylon, but it's very, very soft and squishy. I'm imagining this will make a great kind of boot or winter sock. So this is Jilly in Kittles. Oh, it's hand-dyed in Rhode Island. I didn't even notice that. Local. How cool. Sorry, it's kind of blowing out a little bit. But yeah, it's like pinks and yellows and a little bit of muted orange in there as well. So it's 100 grams of fingering weight. Like I said, superwash merino. It's their velvet sock base, and they called it Fresh Start. Right? So cute. I can't. And it sort of feels like a fresh start in the world right now. So I'm into this. This will probably sit in my stash for a bit before I find what I want to do with it, but couldn't pass it up. Okie dokie. Then I also got, oh, the lighting. I'm so sorry. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you tell? I got this set. So it is purchased as a set from Knit Picks for these socks, if you can see that. The tourmaline socks. Oh, look how pretty. I mean, I sort of can't, right? So it's a colorwork sock with these two skeins. A friend of mine just was like, I'm never going to knit this, what it should be. And so I am obsessed with socks. I have a couple colorwork socks I'm preparing to make. And so I'm excited that now this I can add. And so I know it's kind of blowing out, but this white has like the speckles of the purple, right? And this purple has speckles of blue. They're just really lovely kind of complementary colors. And this is Knit Picks, like I mentioned, their Stroll fingering base. Do we have, okay, yep, this is their grape colorway. And then this one is grape speckle. So yeah, they go together. If you couldn't tell, but actually they're really, I mean, it's not a hand dyed, I don't think, but it's kind of got that vibe. So really, really cool. So this I'm going to keep all together and plan to make that sort of as a set. So I'm excited. Like I said, I just kind of want to have a pair of socks going literally at all times. So that's exciting that now I have a nice little set ready for me. And then the last thing that I picked up at the swap, which is going to sort of lean into a bit of what I'm planning on making, and I'm just kind of pulling it up. So apologies, I know this is my own setup and I'm being rude by looking on my phone, but I did want to kind of share what my plans were. So this is a beautiful silk mohair that a friend of mine used for her Love Note sweater. And then she had leftovers. So it's two full, is this better? Two full skeins. They're 25 gram skeins, and then one sort of little leftover. I don't know if you're really going to be able to see, but it's sort of like an olive green with a neon green thread in the middle. Like that's what I imagine the silk thread is, right? Because mohair, so this one is 75% kid mohair and 25% silk. And this is color 68. They don't have names. Color 68. So yeah, I mean, mohair, right? Like I'm such a sucker for it. It's so, so pretty. I couldn't believe how generous to like 2 full skeins, right? So what I'm sort of planning on doing with this is the Ghost Whisperer sweater that just came out by Park Williams. Oh, this is going to blow out a ton. Can you kind of see that? Right? Yeah. So it's kind of like a cropped, little bit flouncy, knitted, just full mohair sweater, right? So you can see there's sort of like a ruffle at the bottom. Let me see if there's, yeah, like a ruffle. There we go, at the bottom, and then a little bit of a shoulder gather, and then it kind of goes into 3/4 length sleeves. I just, again, think this will be a lovely little crop sweater to throw on over a dress. Like I said, I'm sort of the queen of neutrals, so I have a lot of really basic dresses. I think this would be a really fun thing to kind of throw over. So this isn't enough yarn to make that, but I do have. So last year, I purchased a Secret Santa skein. So this is from Plies and Hellhounds. I'm so sorry. It's sort of covering the full logo, so I can't really see. She does this really fun thing at the end of the year where she wraps up kind of one-off skeins in wrapping paper, and then does like a Secret Santa kind of thing where you purchase for a flat rate, and then she just mails you a skein, and she doesn't really know what it is and you don't really know what it is. And I ended up getting this mohair skein. Insane, so beautiful. It's Pumpkin Throne. So this is a 70% mohair, 30% silk lace weight. I mean, look. So I was thinking of striping that t-shirt with these two, or even seeing if I can do the body in this and then like the ruffle at the bottom or the sleeves in this. I just think these look really good together. So yeah, so I think that that's my plan for that sweater. So this one will probably be closer to fall. Like this is a very fall vibe for me, even though it's a crop top. I mean, mohair is really warm anyway, right? So there's that. But yeah, so that's sort of my plan with that one. Ugh, so nice. So nice. Okay, perfect. And then really just the last thing that I did want to share is my other kind of future knitting plan. And this one is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. Again, hold please. But this is a design by Jessie May, and it's her outline tank. I'm sure you've seen this all over Instagram. It's so cute. Let me find another, like, look. Oh, it's so cute. And so she gets this design element down the front and down the back and down the shoulder by dropping stitches, which is going to give me like an actual panic attack, but it could also be the most fun thing. So we're gonna see. I have picked up, again, knit picks. They're Cotlin, which is 70% cotton, 30% linen blend. This is their linen colorway, aptly named linen colorway. It's a DK weight. So I picked up this yarn to make that specific sweater with it. I just think it's going to wear really well. I think it's going to wash really well and just be really comfortable. I'm probably going to add, again, a bit of length to the actual sweater. But yeah, another thing I think that's just going to tuck in really nicely with skirts, with jeans. Like I said, I'm really kind of into the idea of summer knitting and wearing summer knits in particular. And I just think that one fits the bill kind of completely. So there's that. I did, now that I actually have my phone, want to show a picture of the Me Oh My tee. Can you even handle? It's so cute. They're so cute. Yeah, so it's just like an easy little tee. You can kind of see at the bottom here it kind of rolls a bit, right? Because it's just that stockinette that rolls. Yeah, so that's why I'm going to do the ribbing down there. But yeah, oh my God, we did it. Almost 45 minutes, which is actually insane to me, that I've been talking that long. But as a friend of mine reminded me, like, you know, you've been alone for like a year, like you talk to yourself. Why not, why not share with everybody else? I'm hoping to do this on a more regular basis. I'm going to really try to do this kind of bi-weekly. I don't want to add additional pressure of like, you have to have certain projects done just to show them off. But I would like to kind of show you my progress and show you where I'm at, if these dream knitting projects came to fruition, or if I had like a squirrel moment got distracted by something else I saw on Instagram. I did just order a kit actually from Two of Wands and Lion Brand to do a ribbed tank top. That's on its way to me. I'll be able to show you that in a couple weeks. Who knows? Maybe I'll have progress on it. Let's cool it. But yeah, I'm thinking every other week, maybe monthly. We'll kind of see the cadence as we go. Hopefully this uploads correctly and people watch it. But yeah, I'm really excited about this new opportunity. I'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to leave comments. The contact information for myself, my Instagram, the blog, my Ravelry username is all down below. My email, if you want to get in touch with me in any way, I'd be happy to talk with you. Yeah, feel free to reach out. Like I said, I'm going to put the show notes in the down bar. So if you have any questions, or you liked a pattern that I showed, or some of the yarn that I showed, that should all be in the down bar, except for the yarn I got in the yarn swap, mainly because not all of them had ball bands and the time. I don't know if that's going to happen. I may add to it over time. Apologies in advance. But in the future, I will work to make that more accessible as well. But I think that's everything I had to share for today. Thank you again for watching. If you've made it this far, it was really a pleasure spending some time with you. So hopefully you all have a wonderful weekend whenever this goes up. We'll see. And hopefully I'll be back again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.